forced to take the position as a gas station worker because I needed money fast. It wasn't something I planned on doing long term. The place was a small gas station, just off a nearly abandoned stretch of highway, about 20 minutes outside town. During the day, it was normal enough. Truckers, travelers, the occasional local. But at night, it was completely different. The night shift ran from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. According to my manager, hardly anyone stopped by after midnight, which sounded perfect to me at first. Easy money. Just sit behind the counter, maybe stock some shelves, and wait out the hours. On my first night, the manager, Rick, stayed a little longer than usual. He showed me how to use the register, where the breaker box was, and how to reset the pumps if they froze up. Before he left, he paused by the door, like he wanted to say something else. "If someone comes in after 3, he said, and they seem off, just don't let them stay too long." I laughed a little, thinking he was joking, but he didn't smile. "Just trust me," he added before leaving. The first few hours were uneventful. A couple of cars stopped for gas. One guy came in for cigarettes, and by midnight, the place was completely empty. The silence was the kind that made every small sound stand out. The hum of the fridge, the ticking of the clock, the faint buzz of the fluorescent lights overhead. Around 1:30 a.m., I did a quick walk around the store just to stay awake. Everything was normal. The glass doors at the front reflected the empty parking lot outside. Beyond that, just darkness. No passing cars. No movement. At exactly 2:47 a.m., a car pulled in. That alone wasn't strange, but something about the way it moved was. It rolled in slowly, like the driver wasn't sure where they were going, then stopped right in front of Pump 2. The headlights stayed on, shining directly into the store. I watched through the window as the driver's side door opened. A man stepped out. He was tall, wearing a dark hoodie, and he kept his head down the entire time. He didn't go to the pump, he just stood there. For at least a full minute, he didn't move at all. Then, slowly, he turned his head toward the store. I felt a chill run through me. I couldn't see his face clearly because of the glare from the headlights, but I knew he was looking directly at me. Eventually, he started walking toward the entrance. Something about the way he moved felt off. Too slow, too deliberate, like every step was being carefully measured. The door chimed as he came in. "Evening," I said automatically, trying to sound normal. He didn't respond. He just walked past the counter and stopped in the middle of the store. Then he turned slightly, like he was looking around, but his head didn't move much. It was like he was trying to see without fully turning. "Need help finding anything?" I asked. Still nothing. He walked over to one of the aisles and picked up a random item, a bag of chips, staring at it for a few seconds before putting it back. Then he grabbed a drink from the fridge, held it up, and just stood there. It was at that moment I noticed his hands were shaking, not slightly, violently. He brought the drink to the counter and set it down. "That'll be $2.19, I said. He reached into his pocket slowly and pulled out a handful of crumpled bills and coins, dropping them on the counter. As I started counting it, I realized something strange. He had more than enough money, but he just kept adding more. Coins, bills, even what looked like a folded receipt. "It's enough," I said, trying to push some of it back toward him. He didn't take it. Instead, he leaned slightly closer. That's when I saw his face clearly for the first time. His eyes were wide, too wide, and they weren't focused on me. They were looking past me, toward the back of the store. "There's someone in here," he said quietly. My stomach dropped. "What?" "There's someone in here," he repeated, louder this time. "I saw them when I pulled in." I immediately turned around, looking toward the aisles behind me. Everything looked normal. Empty. "I think you're mistaken," I said, though my voice didn't sound convincing even to me. He shook his head slowly. "They were standing back there," he said, pointing toward the far aisle near the storage room door, watching me. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "I've been here all night," I said. "No one else came in." He didn't respond. He just kept staring past me. Then, suddenly, he grabbed his drink and backed away from the counter. "Don't go back there," he said. And then he left. The door chimed again as he stepped outside, got in his car, and drove off much faster than he arrived. I stood there for a moment, trying to process what had just happened. Then I laughed nervously to myself. He was probably just paranoid, maybe on something. That would explain the shaking, the behavior. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I grabbed the small flashlight from under the counter and stepped out from behind it. "Hello," I called out, my voice echoing slightly in the empty store. No response. I walked slowly toward the back aisle. Each step felt heavier than the last. The fluorescent lights flickered slightly above me, making the shadows shift just enough to mess with my eyes. When I reached the last aisle, I paused. The storage room door at the back was slightly open. I was sure it had been closed earlier. I stood there, staring at the gap in the door. Then I heard it. A faint sound. Breathing. Coming from inside the storage room. I froze. Every instinct told me to run back to the counter, lock the door, call someone, anyone. But I didn't move. The breathing was slow, controlled, like whoever was inside knew I was standing there. Then the door creaked open just a little more. Not all the way, just enough to widen the gap. I took a step back immediately. "Hello?" I said again, louder this time. The breathing stopped. The silence that followed was unbearable. Then, slowly, a hand appeared around the edge of the door, long fingers, pale, gripping the frame. I didn't wait to see anything else. I turned and ran back to the counter, nearly slipping on the tile. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking, and dialed 911. As it rang, I looked up toward the aisle. The hand was gone, but the storage room door was now wide open, and I could see into the darkness beyond it. For a second, I thought I saw movement. Then the lights flickered, and everything went completely dark. The entire store, pitch black. I couldn't see anything. Not the aisles, not the door, nothing. Only the faint glow of my phone screen. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, coming from the back of the store, getting closer. I backed away from the counter, my breath coming out in short bursts. The footsteps didn't rush. They didn't hesitate. They just kept coming. Step, step, step. Then they stopped. Right in front of me. I couldn't see anything, but I knew something was there, standing just a few feet away. Then, right next to my ear, a voice whispered, "You shouldn't have checked." I dropped my phone and ran blindly toward the front door, slamming into shelves and knocking things over. I found the door, shoved it open, and didn't stop running until I was outside in the cold air. I stayed there until the police arrived. They searched the entire building. Found nothing. No signs of forced entry. No one inside. The storage room was empty. They told me I probably imagined it. Stress. Isolation. But before I left that night, one of the officers pulled me aside. He asked me a strange question. "Did someone come in earlier?" I nodded. "A man," I said. "Why?" The officer hesitated. "Because we got a call about 20 minutes before yours," he said, "from a driver passing by." "What did they say?" He looked back at the store, then at me. "They said they saw someone standing inside your gas station long before any car pulled in." I never went back. But sometimes, when I'm trying to sleep, I think about that voice. And I remember exactly how close it was to my ear, like it was right behind me, waiting. I got the job through a friend who worked daytime security at the same place. He told me it was one of the easiest gigs you could get. Black Ridge Office Park was a cluster of low-rise office buildings on the edge of an industrial zone, completely empty after 8 p.m. My shift ran from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. All I had to do was sit in the main security office, monitor cameras, and do hourly patrols through buildings A, B, and C. It sounded perfect. Quiet. Predictable. Safe. On my first night, the supervisor, a guy named Leonard, walked me through everything. He showed me the camera system, the patrol routes, and how to log each check-in. Before he left, he pointed at one of the monitors. "That's Building C, 3rd floor," he said. "You don't need to patrol that level." I frowned. "Why not?" "Renovations," he said quickly. "It's closed off." I nodded, but something about the way he said it felt rushed, like he didn't want to go into detail. "Just stick to floors 1 and 2 in that building," he added. "And if you see anything unusual on that camera, just note it. Don't go up there." That should have been my first red flag. The first few nights were exactly what I expected. Dead quiet. I'd sit in the security office, watching the camera feeds, occasionally getting up to walk through the buildings. The offices were empty, lights off, desks abandoned until morning. The silence was heavy though, not peaceful, just empty. Around my 4th night, I started noticing something strange on the cameras, specifically the feed for Building C, 3rd floor. At exactly 2:32 a.m. every night, the camera would flicker slightly. Not enough to lose signal, just a quick distortion, like static for half a second. The first time it happened, I ignored it. Probably just old equipment. But it kept happening. Same time. Every night. On the 6th night, I decided to pay closer attention. At 2:31 a.m., I sat there, staring directly at the monitor, waiting. When the clock on the wall hit 2:32, the screen flickered again. But this time, something was different. There was something in the frame, a shape, standing at the far end of the hallway. I leaned closer to the screen. It looked like a person, tall, standing completely still. But the hallway on that floor was supposed to be empty. Locked. I grabbed the radio immediately. "Is anyone else on site?" I asked, even though I knew the answer. No response. I kept staring at the screen. The figure didn't move, didn't shift, didn't even seem to breathe. Then, after about 10 seconds, the camera flickered again, and the figure was gone. I sat back slowly, trying to rationalize what I just saw. Maybe it was a glitch, some kind of image burn or reflection. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. The next hour dragged on. I kept checking the camera, but nothing else appeared. By 3:30, I convinced myself it was nothing. At 4 a.m., I started my patrol. Building A was clear. Building B was clear. Then I reached Building C. I hesitated at the entrance for a moment, before unlocking the door and stepping inside. The lobby was quiet, just like the others. My footsteps echoed slightly as I moved toward the stairwell. I told myself I was only checking the first 2 floors, just like Leonard said. Nothing more. The first floor was empty. The second floor was empty. But as I was about to head back down, I noticed something. The door leading to the 3rd floor stairwell was slightly open. That didn't make sense. I was sure it was locked before. I stood there, staring at it. Then I heard something, a faint sound coming from above. Footsteps. Slow. Walking across the floor. My grip tightened on the flashlight. Every instinct told me to leave, to go back downstairs, return to the office, and forget about it. But I didn't. I pushed the door open. The stairwell light flickered as I stepped inside. The air felt colder immediately. I started up the stairs slowly, each step echoing louder than it should have. The footsteps above stopped. completely. I froze halfway up. Then I heard something else, a dragging sound, like something heavy being pulled across the floor. I reached the top of the stairs and stopped in front of the door to the 3rd floor. It was slightly open, just like the storage room door in a nightmare you know you shouldn't step into. I pushed it open slowly. The hallway was dark, except for a few flickering ceiling lights. Everything looked normal at first glance. Empty. Quiet. But the air felt wrong. Thick. Like I wasn't supposed to be there. I stepped out into the hallway, shining my flashlight ahead. "Hello," I called out. No response. I took a few steps forward. Then I saw it. At the far end of the hallway, the same figure from the camera. Standing there, completely still. My heart started pounding. "Security," I called out, trying to sound firm. "You're not supposed to be here." No response. The figure didn't move. I took another step forward. And that's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. It wasn't facing me. It was facing the wall, standing inches away from it, like it had been staring at it the entire time. I stopped moving. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around. But before I could, it moved. Not turning, not stepping back. It just shifted. Its head tilted slightly. Then slowly, it began to turn toward me. The movement was wrong. Too smooth, too slow. Like it wasn't used to moving properly. When it finally faced me, I felt my chest tighten. Its face. There was something wrong with it. Not missing, not distorted. Just blank. No expression. No emotion. Just staring. Then it took a step toward me. I turned and ran. I didn't think. I didn't look back. I ran down the stairs, nearly falling, burst out of Building C, and didn't stop until I was back in the security office. I locked the door behind me and stared at the monitors. The camera for the 3rd floor flickered again. And there it was, standing in the hallway, looking directly into the camera, looking directly at me. Then, slowly, it started walking forward, closer, closer, until the screen filled with its face. Then the feed cut out completely. I quit that night, didn't finish the shift, didn't call anyone, just left. The next day, I got a call from Leonard. He sounded irritated at first, asked why I left. I told him everything. There was a long silence on the phone. Then he sighed. "That's why we tell people not to go up there," he said. "What is it?" I asked. He didn't answer directly. "Everyone who goes up there sees something different," he said. "But it always starts on the cameras." I didn't ask anything else. I didn't want to know. But sometimes, when I'm alone at night, I think about that hallway. And I remember the way it moved, like it was learning how to be human. And I can't shake the feeling that one day it'll get it right. I started working the night shift at a 24-hour gym called Iron Pulse about 8 months ago. It wasn't a big chain gym, just a local place that stayed open all night because there were enough regulars to justify it. My shift was from midnight to 8 a.m. Most of the time it was dead after 2, maybe 1 or 2 people lifting, sometimes nobody at all. It sounded like the easiest job in the world. The manager, Chris, trained me during an evening shift before I started nights. He walked me through the basics, checking memberships, cleaning equipment, making sure nobody was doing anything stupid. Before he left that night, he pointed toward the back hallway. "That leads to the locker rooms and storage," he said. "You don't need to go into the far storage room unless something's wrong." "What's back there?" I asked. "Old equipment," he said quickly. "Just don't leave that door open." That stuck with me, but I didn't think much of it at the time. My first few nights were exactly what I expected. Quiet. Repetitive. I'd wipe down machines, scroll on my phone, and occasionally check in someone who came in late. By 3 a.m., the place was usually empty. It was on my 7th night that things started to feel off. Around 2:40 a.m., a guy came in. That wasn't unusual, but something about him stood out immediately. He didn't scan a membership card. He just walked straight in like he already belonged there. "Hey," I called from behind the desk. "You need to check in." He didn't stop, didn't even turn his head. He just kept walking toward the wait area. I assumed maybe he was a regular who forgot, so I didn't push it. I made a note to ask him later. I watched him through the mirrors as he walked across the gym floor. He moved slowly, almost dragging his feet. He went to the far corner where the squat racks were and just stood there for a long time. Not lifting, not stretching, just standing. I got up and walked over. "Hey," I said, "I need you to check in at the front." He didn't respond. Up close, something felt wrong. He was facing the rack, but his posture was stiff, too stiff, like he was holding himself in place. "Hello," I said louder. Then, slowly, he turned his head toward me. Not his body, just his head. And his eyes. They weren't focused on me. They were slightly off, like he was looking through me instead of at me. "You forgot to check in," I said, trying to stay calm. He stared at me for a few seconds. Then he said, very quietly, "I know." His voice sounded like there was no emotion behind it. "Okay," I said. "Then you need to—" "I know," he repeated. Same tone, same volume. Then he turned his head back toward the rack. Conversation over. I stood there for a second, unsure what to do. Something about him made me not want to push it further. So I went back to the desk, telling myself I'd keep an eye on him. For the next 20 minutes, he didn't move. Not once. Just stood there. At 3:05 a.m., I glanced up again. He was gone. Just gone. I didn't see him leave. The front door hadn't opened. There was no sound. I checked the cameras immediately. The footage showed him walking in, walking to the rack, standing there. Then at 3:04, the camera flickered for half a second. And when it came back, he wasn't there anymore. No walking away. No exit. Just gone. That's when I started feeling uneasy. I locked the front door temporarily, which we were allowed to do during slow hours, and did a quick walk through the gym. Everything looked normal, until I reached the back hallway. The door to the far storage room was open, just slightly. I was sure it had been closed earlier. I stood there, staring at it. Then I heard something from inside, a metallic clanging sound, like weights shifting. Slowly. I felt a tightness in my chest. I didn't want to open that door, but I also couldn't just ignore it. So I stepped closer and pushed it open. The room was dim, lit only by a single flickering bulb. Old equipment was stacked everywhere. Benches, plates, broken machines. At first I didn't see anything. Then I noticed something in the corner. A shape, standing there. It was him. The same guy, facing the wall, completely still. "How did you get back here?" I asked, my voice barely steady. No response. I took a step closer. "You need to leave," I said. Still nothing. Then, slowly, he moved. His shoulders shifted first, then his head, turning toward me. The same unnatural motion as before. When he faced me, I felt my stomach drop. His expression hadn't changed. Still blank, still empty. But his eyes, they were locked onto mine now, completely focused. Then he smiled, a slow, unnatural smile, too wide. I backed away immediately. "Nope," I muttered. "You need to get out. Now." He took a step forward, then another. I turned and walked quickly out of the room, not waiting to see if he followed. I shut the door behind me and stood there, listening. Silence. For a few seconds, I thought maybe it was over. Then something hit the door from the inside. Hard. I jumped back. Another hit. Then another. The entire door shook with each impact. I ran back to the front desk and grabbed my phone. As I dialed, I looked up at the hallway. The door to the storage room was now open again, and the hallway was empty. I felt my chest tighten. Slowly, I turned toward the gym floor. He was standing there, right in the middle of the room, facing me. He hadn't made a sound, hadn't walked past me, but he was there. Then he started walking toward the desk, slow, deliberate. I backed away, my hand shaking as I held the phone. "Stop," I said. He didn't. "Stop," I yelled. Still nothing. He kept coming, step by step. Then he spoke, sound flat voice. "You let me in." I froze. "You let me in," he repeated. Then the lights flickered and went out. The entire gym went dark. I couldn't see anything, but I could hear him. Walking. Closer. Closer. Until I felt something right in front of me. Breathing. Then, right next to my ear. "You shouldn't have done that." I ran. I didn't care where. I just ran toward the front door, slammed into it, unlocked it, and stumbled outside. I never went back. I quit the next morning over the phone. Chris didn't sound surprised. He just asked me one thing. "Did you open the storage room?" I hesitated, then said yes. There was a long pause. Then he sighed. "That's how it gets out," he said. I didn't ask what he meant. I didn't want to know. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm alone, I feel like someone is standing behind me, not moving, not speaking, just waiting. And every once in a while, I hear that same voice, flat, emotionless. "You let me in,"